Good morning, everybody. And first of all, thanks for having me here. It's my first time in Cambodia, not necessarily my first time in Asia, but this country is just special. So thanks for everything, for this incredible day and even more incredible night yesterday. We'll see what we can make from that tonight. So, I want to talk a bit about the future of TYPO3 CMS as we have it right now. So, first thing, who am I? I mean, John gave an incredible opening, thanks for that. I'm Matthias, that's my Twitter handle if you want to follow me, although there's not necessarily just TYPO3 stuff going on. My email address, blah, over technical stuff for SlideShare. And I'm the TYPO3 CMS product owner. So if you're working in like an agile environment, you most probably should have a product owner, and for TYPO3 CMS, that's me. So I'm the CMS contact, so whenever somebody has questions on the product, needs advice in sales or something like that, everything that's not too technical, I'm your go-to guy. And since people ask a lot, I'm a dog person, and I can prove it. So, the first thing I want to talk about, because a lot of people want to know about this, is what's up with the TYPO3 and NEOS split that's currently going on. So in case you don't know, these are two independent projects by now. So the NEOS team, with the two products, NEOS and Flow, emancipated, is that word, grew into their own community and wanted to work on their own. And that's definitely, it's better to differentiate between the two products now, because we hear a lot that people have problems, like positioning both products next to each other. And people ask, yeah, we want that TYPO3, but which one? Which one should I choose? So it's also just easier to explain to clients what's going on to them. That's that tool, and that's the other tool. And I think the most important thing that we can learn from that is there's no need to panic, right? So no product will go extinct or something. Both products have a healthy community, and I think some good times ahead. So, I wanted to start with a bit of a retrospective. So basically, what did we have in the past? What did we do? And most importantly, what did go wrong? Because I think in order to make something better, you need to take a look at where you suck at. That's the important stuff, You can do it. You take a look at your last 5 projects. If you only take a look at what went awesome, you won't make huge progress into getting better. So let's take a look at what was going on in the last couple of years. For those who are not familiar with these kinds of charts, this is a velocity chart. And the red bar, or the red line, is actually indicating the amount of tickets we got on the ticketing system for TYPO3. And what you can see is that these are, it's not spiky or anything, it's rather regular, more or less. And the green bar down here are closed tickets over time. So this is where you can see this one, for example. That was me on the first developer days, mass closing 1,000 tickets. And if we take a look at that chart, we can see two, like bumps in it, where we can see we have a huge difference between interest and work that has actually been done, or tickets that have been closed. So these are these. And this rather big one here. And by the way, that's real-time data. We have that on forage.typo3.org. There's a lot of charting going on. And this was maybe one of the first things, or maybe the second things, I did when I took over the management part. I just wanted to visualize what has been done in order to analyze what has been going on over the years. So, if we take a look at that, what I already said, we have regular decays in velocity. And if we take a look at the first one, which is down here, this was basically when Flow was announced, or TYPO3 V5, back in the day, Phoenix, whatever. And the other one, the bigger bump, was actually when Neos got announced. And at the same time, the feedback was like next to static. And the interesting part is that when those two products were announced, I think it's a natural thing that the CMS team simply was like, okay, why bother? You know, next year we'll have something else. We don't need to work too much on the current product. So after that, we had a huge 6.2 release, which was some major things like the file abstraction layer, backend polishing, which is interesting because a lot of people simply go like, it doesn't look different. Yes, it does. So if you simply put like a 4.5 installation and a 6.2 installation next to each other, you will definitely see that the backend is like, you know, like streamlined, a bit polished here, a bit polished there. It's still gray, yes. The icons are still tiny, yes. But they are polished tiny. Then other things we did were like small fixes, and boy, those were a lot. I think we have roughly, I don't know, like over 1,000 going into that since 4.5. And in general, the entire idea of the release was kind of maintenance, because Neos was around the corner and everybody was like, okay, we're done. You know, we'll release 6.2 and let's, you know, LTS it for a couple of years, and then just go like, you know, like lock the door, we're done, cool. And after that, we had what I call the big sleep, because the team definitely just needed to gather strength again, because 6.2 was an incredibly exhausting release. We suffered some problems with developers who wanted to work on certain features, not being able to do so because they're suddenly bounded projects and all these kind of things. We had to cross-finance some of the development to get it done in time. In time being, it was delayed twice. And it was exhausting. A lot of people needed to update their website then. It was the first LTS to LTS update that we needed to do, and all this kind of a lot of new stuff that we had to do. And basically everybody was exhausted, so we just had like, I think, a 2-month period where actually the team was like going to sleep. And it was good. The other important thing was just that the team then needed to find focus again, right? So some points that can actually concentrate. What do you want to do? You know, get calm again in order to work properly. The next thing that we did was we needed to define goals. So what do we want to achieve until when? That was an important part as well. And practically, we had to rebuild the team, not necessarily with new people, but we had a team meeting in Nuremberg. I think in May 2014, which was basically just group therapy, right? So no coding, or next to no coding. The first day was just like everybody was allowed to talk, and we had good talks and important talks that day. And another important thing is just so that the team could gain confidence again, because obviously TYPO3 does have a huge impact, right? It's a huge market, and I think it's totally okay to be proud of that, and to be proud to be part of that. So, if we take a look at the future, we defined some minor changes in Nuremberg, which is just a classic standard workflow model. So we act means we code, we release pretty early. We learned from that. So what did go wrong? What went well? And build on these things. And in the end, we'll just repeat the process. Henning Mack came up with an incredible claim, term, motto, whatever, which is embrace and innovate. Because in TYPO3, we have a lot of awesome stuff. So personally, I have yet to come across a project that can't be done with TYPO3. You know, it might not necessarily be fun to do it, but it can be done. And that's the important part. So if you take a look at other systems, you always have something like, you know, like a major roadblock, or we say, oh, we can go that far, but then, you know, we're done. You know, we can't build on that. And the basic idea is that we take what we have, which is the embrace part, and then we simply build what we might need. That's the innovate part. Or make things easier so that it's more streamlined to integrate things, so that it's quicker to set up a website, all these kind of things. And we want to do that in close contact with the market. Meaning that the TYPO3 Association already started with the so-called agency meetup days, where several people from the TYPO3 Association, from the marketing team and from the development teams, will be traveling around the globe, currently mostly Europe, to get in touch with the agencies and simply ask, what do you need? So how can we help you build a better product? Or how can we help you sell the product to a client? Or how can we help you develop with the product? All these kind of things. So it's just huge feedback trips, etc. And I'm totally fine with being here on that regard today also, because I don't regularly go to Cambodia like every second week or so. But today might be a good time just to come up with your ideas or your things that you think could be better or stuff you need built. We'll just talk about that, and in the end, we might just build it. That makes sense. So the next thing we did is that we changed the release mode. And what you can see here is, in the past, we had like we aimed for a 6-month release cycle, ended up more like 14. And we wanted to change that because as an open source developer, there's that one thing that drives you in development. You want to see your stuff getting on the road. And if you have development cycles like for over a year, that's really motivating you, because you know you build stuff and everybody goes like, yeah, we'll wait until the next LTS release. So you can basically say when you put in a feature at the beginning of a release cycle, it'll take like 36 months to get your stuff on the road, and that's kind of demotivating. So what we did is that we have short sprint phases, which basically means we define a topic that the team wants to work on, like front end or back end styling or composer or to be defined. That's our favorite one. And then at the end, we have like a short stabilization phase, regularly about a week. And after that week, we release. And this is what we've done in the 7th branch right now. So we're 5 releases in, 6 releases on its way. And all these sprint phases regularly also host a code sprint somewhere in between. We used to do, I think, 6 code sprints per year back in the day. Now we're doing 9 per year, but always 2 in parallel. So there are 18 code sprints in total. The next thing I would change is that what you can see here is the lifetime of the 7 branch, basically. So we're going to release the 7 LTS version. And we just call it 7 LTS, because that's the only thing the client cares about. It's not about is it 7.1.4 or 7.4. Whatever. It's 7 LTS. It speaks well. And what you can see here is that we're going to immediately kick off the 8th branch once the 7th branch is like released. And the 2 LTS versions will be overlapping for 18 months. Because we figured that it doesn't make sense to end one LTS version and leave you guys with, I don't know, like 3 months to migrate all the websites to the new LTS version. We figured that 18 months might be a better schedule for that. All right. The next thing we installed was management. And the tricky part is, if you're in open source development and you say manager, everybody is like, please no. Right? I am doing open source because I don't want to be managed. But I think the style of management that Benny and me and the other people on the team do is a tad different. Because what we do is that we simply define common goals instead of your manager defining the goal, whether you like it or not. Also, we value consensus over dictatorship. Because in the end, those people are no employees of mine. I can't tell you do that right now. I need to convince them that it's the right thing to do. The other thing that I'm mostly doing is like I'm unblocking, meaning if you take a look, what do you think a developer should do? I think he should develop. What a developer actually does is like booking flights, hotel rooms, and taking care of how dinner should work out. And that's where I kick in because I'm taking care of these things. Also, at a certain point, in an open source, you might reach a point in the discussion where you can't move forward anymore, and that's when I kick in as a mediator. Although I only needed to do this once, so the whole unlocking part, that's the important thing. Make way for the team so that they can work on next speed. And the last thing I do is like I connect business and development. So in case you don't know, you can actually like book Benny Mac or me in case you're doing a pitch with a client, and we will show up as an official TYPO3 sales rep to help you sell the product better. All right, the next thing we put on is Slack. Slack basically is like a chat, but it's just so much more than that. What we have in Slack is a lot of people try to compare Slack and IRC, but Slack is just plain better, hands down. Sorry. I will show some of these things at the closing session, I guess, when we talk about quality stuff. Because Slack for us it's not only about chatting; it's an information hub, right? So a lot of our QA tools run into Slack and all these kind of things. But I'm getting ahead of time. More of that later. But just use it to get in touch with the team or with each other. That's also great stuff. Get involved in development. Because we have so-called community interest groups, and these form naturally on themselves or by themselves. We have like I think 12 people currently rewriting the regular email forms in TYPO3 because they suck. And that's an initiative driven by the community on their own. And we're just, nurturing and mentoring it from the outside and helping them to get their stuff in, because we just at the moment have more important stuff to do than fixing the email forms. Of course, you can just meet the core developers, which is easy. There's a dedicated channel for that, and you can just ask questions. It's totally fine. We also have like the regular support kind of chat with like I think 900 people in there. And normally it takes about 15 to 20 minutes to answer a question, depending on your time zone. And in the end, you can also just become a core developer. Through that, funnily enough. we had like the last core developer we invited was a guy who just showed up on Slack, built awesome things, was extremely reliable, and in the end, I think after like 8 or maybe 10 weeks, we were like, hey dude, you know, like, want in? Be sure you can't get out though. All right, so much for communication. So in case you're wondering what we're currently doing in the 7 branch, is mostly we repay technical debt. Is everybody familiar with that term? Okay. Technical debt is pretty much like real debt. Only it's technical. Okay. So currently in TYPO3 we have old code. At the beginning of the year I would have said we have a lot of old code. It's not that lot anymore. And a lot of that code has been built like in 1999. And if new people take a look at part of the old TYPO3 code base, everybody's like, you don't code like that, you need to define visibilities. Yeah, PHP 4, good luck defining visibility. We didn't have visibility back then. And the interesting part about all that code is that it's actually still valid today. So if we take a look at the entire approach of TCA for defining forms and records and all these kind of things, it's brilliant. It works for 15 years. Or what else did we have? The complete access control lists principle. It just works. It's awesome. We could get rid of this comma-separated value list though, but we're on that. Now I'm going to get a bit controversial because we consider TYPO3 feature complete. Seriously. The thing is, like I mentioned earlier, you can basically build anything with TYPO3. Although the solution might look like this data center. So the idea is that we simply want to make things easier and more streamlined, and we're going to go over this right now. By the way, the next slides are in order of priority. So what we consider most important are editors. That's something new. Although it's a bit odd, I mean, we're doing a content management system. Our first and foremost priority have to be editors. So it's important for them that content generation or content creation is easy. It just has to work. The system should supply help at certain points. So there are a lot of editors out there that can't tell the difference between the URI and an email address. Just where should I send the email to you? www. The emails. Yeah, www. something. Also, we just want to streamline editing, making it quicker to edit things. And the interesting part is, not necessarily, well, it's interesting, but it's also tricky, is that you need to supply tools that nobody notices, right? That should just feel organic. You should think about what you actually do. Well, you should, but not on a technical level. The next priority we have is integrators. So the developers setting up the website. And our foremost goal is like, we want to simplify the workflows in creating a page. The next thing is that we want to value one solution over 20 that are possible. Because currently, if you're asking on the Slack channels or on the mailing lists or whatever, how can I solve that problem? You basically get like 20 answers, and all of them are correct. And I know that's confusing, and it's also a bit problematic because we need to maintain that 20 possibilities. So having just one possibility or one or two solutions that really make sense isn't only easier for the integrators, but it's also easier to maintain for us. And the code base gets smaller, so the system gets quicker, and it's got a lot of benefits. We also want to focus on supplying automated tools so that you can like create websites or stage websites, all these kind of things. I had easy staging already. So in order to keep like a development system, a staging system, and a live system in sync content-wise, for example, these are the kind of things we're working on right now. And last but not least, it's DevOps, which is often like neglected because that's the server guys anyways. You know, like sitting in a dark room and nobody talks to them. So we want to ease deployment. That's kind of overlaps with the deployment stuff for integrators. Another important thing is that we consider it important that we're able to harden the system, meaning we reduce entry points, we reduce a lot of potential error that we have. So let's take a look at WordPress's fourth last security incident that they had. That wasn't even their fault. They had a dependency on a web font, and in this dependency there was an HTML file, and that HTML file loaded an attackable JavaScript. But it wasn't from the WordPress guys. So the whole security issue was that they used a third-party library, and this is what we want to avoid because we want to put everything that's third-party, or in general, all code outside of the accessible area of the web server, and then just provide the absolute minimum. And we're already in having talks with security companies like Secunia, for example, that will then just batch the system like Secunia A-class security, blah blah blah. Then we want to, of course, improve scalability because hey, why not? And in the end, we just need to fix things because there are stuff that needs to be fixed. So we still have legacy code. Our code base is like, I think OpenHub valued the code base at $62 million that we have right now. Part of that is legacy. It's getting less legacy, but still is. We also still have to deal with rush teachers. So stuff where some management, and that wasn't me, was just like, put that in, we need that, and we need to release it. Another important thing that we need to deal with is our wrong impressions. So a lot of people went like, oh, we have the file abstraction layer now. Why can't I search within that like I can with DAM? Yeah, because it's no replacement for DAM. It's a file abstraction layer, no asset management tool. And this is what we're currently dealing with. So I think the question is, what's up next? This is just a short disclaimer slide because if I put these slides onto SlideShare or SpeakDeck or something, everybody will quote me on these. So the thing is that I don't promise stuff. I can tell you what we're working on, what we want to do, but I won't put dates to it because I simply can't. So the first thing we want to tackle is language handling. And this is something that happens with actually incredibly powerful. It can do a lot of stuff. Although it does have some minor problems with that. The first being the default language. Who doesn't hate it? It's it's cool that it's there, but it's extremely annoying that it's there. And the problem is that you normally run into the problems with default languages like 2 years in the project. And suddenly realize, oh, darn, we took the wrong decision in the first place. This is what we want to stop. Well, not taking wrong decisions, but having a problem with these. So we want to drop the default language because we think that we have locales all around anyways. So whenever you type a single word in whatever language it is, it's a language, right? So if I say hello, we can be pretty sure it's at least English that we're writing. So we're making locales mandatory. The next thing we're thinking about is context. Because currently, you need to hack some things, not necessarily in code, but imagine you have a website with like, I don't know, like 40,000 pages. And the client walks up to you and says, yeah, cool, can we do a mobile version of that? Well, with responsive web design, getting 40,000 pages to be, like having navigation for that, bad idea. So what we do is that we simply supply the language mobile to the editor. So the editor can choose which pages to translate for that. But still, it's no real language, it's a context. So obviously we need some layer over the languages for something like context. Next thing is we want to implement fallback chains for context and language, because the only way you can do content fallback right now is this really, really funny syntax, which is like -1, mom's birthday, semicolon thing. I don't, weird stuff. And we want to make these into a priority chain so that you can simply say, if somebody accesses this website over this URL, the highest priority is, say, Dutch, and the second highest priority is German or English or whatever. The next thing we have is like the zero overhead packages. That's actually not the future anymore because we have it, sorry. In case you don't know, the more extensions you have in your system, the slower TYPO3 gets. If you use the extension or not, does not matter. There's loading information and all these kind of things. We drastically reduce that. So currently the TYPO3 7 branch in the backend and in the front end has like, I think, 50% less memory footprint in general. And if you just do yourself or try something out. Put a 6.2 installation, a blank 6.2 installation on your left screen and the 7 installation on the right screen and try clicking the same things. It's just 7, it's just so much faster. And the fun fact is that we didn't really have any performance improving patches in there. It's just that the code is cleaner and it just gets faster and faster every day. So the idea of the zero overhead packages is that we don't no longer need loading information, so we drop unnecessary bloat in that, and we want to get rid of the package manager, although those are mostly done. The other thing, and that's even more important, is Composer UI. I guess a lot of people of you are familiar with Composer, what it does. And with Composer, we want to have no more dependency hassle. Right? Because that's where the extended manager really is annoying. It's the de facto industry standard, let's face it. And the tricky part is we need to work for basically two different sides of the story. So on the one side we have the developers, who are familiar with working on the command line, and they don't care if they just type Composer install or something. But on the other hand, we have a lot of, like small football kind of club clients, or it's not clients, it's people using the system, it's stakeholders. And we can tell them, yeah, go onto the command line and just type things, right? So they need a UI for things. And what we want to do is that you have Composer in your browser, so that you can simply click it and it will show all the command line output, everything works. We have that running, it was like done. But then we realized how Composer works internally in regards to memory, and it's bad, like really bad. So they load like 55,000 packages into RAM and then work on memory to doing all the dependency resolving. And we don't want to say, if you want to use TYPO3, assign 2 gigabytes of RAM to the process. Right? It doesn't make sense. So we'll wait until PHP 7 for that, because the PHP 7 footprint is much, much lower. Maybe we can get it running back then. Yeah, of course, so the idea of the whole thing is that using Composer should be easy to understand and, in the end, fun to use. Next up is the Headless CMS. So the idea is that you can use TYPO3 as a sort of content hub, and you don't need a front-end head for it, right? So you don't need to have a website in front of it. You just have the back-end, organize your data, over APIs in and out. So you could have like REST APIs or whatever it's web services retrieving your content, but also having the possibility to post it back into the system. And the nice part is that suddenly the system is like client agnostic, meaning you could run a mobile app and directly connect it with TYPO3 without jumping through hoops by rendering some JSON stuff in the front end. You don't need that because you would simply have REST services for that. And the interesting part is the next one, which is the CMS's head. Because now if we take the front-end facing head of the CMS, we can just put it onto its own server. So the result would be decoupled front-end servers. And the important part, mind that it's servers, multiple of them. So the idea is that you could simply have one editing machine somewhere in the DMZ or wherever, and have like, I don't know, like 100 heads in the front end handling the load. Think cloud computing. The next benefit of that is that you also have hardened front-end servers, right? Because you don't have to do stuff like, we need to prevent the login into the TYPO3 backend. Yeah, there is no TYPO3 backend making it easier to prevent the login. And of course, easy deployment, and as Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, it's the future, so we need to do that anyway. And the next thing that's up is event sourcing. That's rather technical. Anybody not familiar with event sourcing? All right. So meet me at dinner. So the basic idea is, I tried to explain it in non-technical terms. Think of it as an inverted log. So what you do today is you change the headline of a content element from hello world to hi, and then you do a log entry for that. The idea behind event sourcing is that you simply invert that, because you only have one event, and the event is change headline from hello world to hi. And in the end, what happens is that an API could build projections from that. And a projection could be, I need to update the home page, and I need to update the newsletter pages, and I need to update some list view for that. And a projection would be something that you could consider it a cache, but it's also so much more than that. So first of all, projections are storage agnostic, meaning you can store your projection in the database. That's the first natural thought that comes into mind. But why not store it in a Solar cluster? Or why not store it on a web service? Or why not just write HTML to the disk? Because as soon as the editor hits the publish button, that content is like persisted. And we persist it in the database right now, but that's not persistent. Write it to the file system, and on the next hit, why have PHP do anything with that, right? Just deliver the content. The next thing is that the whole event sourcing approach is content agnostic, meaning you can basically use it for maintaining online orders, because the event would be order has been shipped, and you don't need to care what happens behind that, because that's API stuff. You don't need to care about these things. And the interesting thing about it, if you come to think of it, is, so how do we handle caching? Well, caching is a projection taken care of. Or how do we handle workspaces? Yeah, it's a projection. How do we handle workspaces? Okay, you get the point. All right. So I don't know how I'm in timing right now.
We have a question.
Okay, cool. Questions? I hope I can answer them. None. That was good. Don't be shy, or just approach me when I'm I'll set someone.
Okay.
I have a question.
Very
Regarding CMS, I just saw an evaluation between all the CMS, also to your competitors actually. And I would like to know where we are with TYPO3 regarding our competitors. And what will be the future?
What will be the future?
Maybe, yes.
Let me get my crystal ball. No.
What's your opinion, actually?
Well, I can only see that there are a couple of things like WordPress, for example, is often named as a competitor. I don't really consider it one,
Okay.
because the thing is, we get that on a daily basis by our clients. They start with WordPress pages because the obvious reason, it's so easy, it's so cheap, we just put a theme on it and it does the job. Yeah, and then they grow. And as soon as they grow, you will hit this brick wall with WordPress installations where you simply say, okay, now WordPress can't handle that anymore. And then you approach the client and go like, okay, now we need to switch and do a relaunch. And if you think of that, the client is currently growing, right? He has a lot of other problems than doing a relaunch with the website for technical reasons. The other thing is that I took a good look at Drupal, what they're doing with Drupal 8. The memory footprint is incredibly high. They do everything by hot wiring stuff, so every hit will just evaluate a lot of things on their own. It's magic. And the memory footprint is just like, I don't get why they do that. It's like, the argument that they have, or the reasoning they have, is we want to make things easy for the developer. And I meet up with one of the Drupal guys from Drupal Germany like once every 2 months, and I asked him, how much sense does that make, so that every hit in the front end evaluates stuff that you want to do easier for the developer, just to save him one line of configuration? That doesn't make sense. If the developer has that one line of configuration, instead of trying to auto look up it and then punish everybody in the front end once the project is done, right? So these are a couple of things regarding Drupal. I think it's odd, but I also think that Drupal has a totally different angle how they work. It's more, I wouldn't start a community site, with TYPO3 possibly. You can do it, but it's no fun. And I think Drupal's strong points are like this entire community kind of stuff. So if you would do like a collaborative intranet, for example, maybe Drupal might be the right choice to do that. WordPress, which can handle like pages, wow, that's the plan of the management system plan pages, right? Magnolia, I didn't have the chance to see the latest development that they did, and going to the big guys. Well, I think Adobe is off the charts anyways, with an average project revenue of over $1 million. And we just did a huge relaunch with Nissan on that, going from CQ to web experience. It's basically just a major version number. And the thing was, you need to rebuild everything. The only thing that we could actually recycle were the HTML templates we already had. But we had to re-implement them. There's no way of migrating the content. It's odd for such a product. It's that price range. It's like, wow, we can do that. We're open source, right? What else did I take a look at? Sidecore is interesting, but Sidecore is very Windows focused. So they do things. I don't get it. The other stuff I took a look at was ModX. or Modex Revolution or Evolution or whatever they do right now. I dislike that you had to build like everything from scratch. And we're currently in the process to supply fluid-powered content elements, for example, so that you will set up a website in TYPO3 and all the standard content elements that you have, which is this huge TypoScript inferno that you need to go through, will just be HTML templates in a couple of days. So it's it's a lot easier on your junior developer, because if you like change that markup, you know, the developer would expect to have an HTML template somewhere. So why not give it to him? And the good thing is it's even faster than the TypeScript. Apart from that, well, Joomla, I don't get it. Because I take a look at the system, I take a look at the code, and I'm like, why is this successful? Although that might be the universal formula, but have you taken a look at the WordPress code? So obviously there's a balance between code quality and commercial success. So the lower the code quality, the commercial success is obviously bigger. No, but that's those things that we're currently taking a look at. Neos, I wouldn't really consider Neos a competitor, more like a brother. And the same thing goes for stuff like Symfony CMF, for example, because we're in so close contact with Lucas, for example. He's been attending our developer days in Nuremberg earlier this year. We'll be going to the Symfony conference. Symfony is friends, not competition, or not competition. That's and we want to try and get even more into that, right? Because to me, there's not WordPress, Joomla, Modex, whatever. There's open source and closed source, right? So if all the open source projects would join forces and work closer together, we could just like get rid of the annoying stuff in closed source systems. And personally, I'm totally convinced that open source is the best solution to a lot of problems. This is why we try to join forces with the other open source projects as well. And for them it's new. We would never have expected that you would ask us, yeah, see, that's the problem. We should work together. We're friends.
So are the connection with CMS Garden going to go on? So because this is one of the main situations, I think, where we can do.
Well, CMS Garden is for those who don't know, CMS Garden is an initiative that brings several open source CMSs together. Nobody wants to stop that. The only thing is that I cannot also put that onto my agenda.
Yeah, I just saw that. It's not about you. I don't think that it's here to put all the workload and give it present.
It'll work for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but there are also other people who take over some work. I hope so. But what I observe is that it slowed down a bit. I do not know why. I'm not into the CMS Garden thing, but maybe you have some.
The only thing I know about CMS Garden is that I was approached like, hey, take care of that, and I was like, no. Yeah. Because I got no time to take care of that. Also, I got like a huge product to build.
So you gave back the information. I don't have any time, so you have.
I'm totally fine, and I do value the idea behind CMS Garden. I think it's a good thing, but I can't handle that at a certain point. That's the tricky part. When I stepped in as product owner, it was just like, oh great, now you take care of everything, right? And I was like, no, I'm product owner. Right. So I'm not the press officer, and I'm not the marketing chief, and I'm putting product.
So you have no information on who to address, maybe if I.
Gina, actually, there's one person from the TYPO3 community. I guess his name is Bernd. He's taking care. He was the initial focal point for TYPO3. he was not that visible to nobody, so actually nobody's actually joining him. This is always a problem if you have one guy that's taking care of things but never really outs himself. So,
and what's his name?
I have it here on my email.
Okay,
it's Bernd Weitzel or something like that from Germany. I've been speaking with David Hardin from the Joomla project about this, and he says actually they're really looking for people from the Type 3 community to join the garden. That's something that the community can do out of their own. It's just self-service. That's nothing that has to come from somebody, some president, some project owner or whatever to do it. The TYPO3 marketing team takes care that we pay that membership that is needed to access stuff like that. So everybody in the community can just join without thinking of, am I allowed to?
So we're looking for personally.
Did the community manager tell me that I need to do it? So basically, just rush in, do what you want to do, scratch your itch, go to the community garden, the CMS garden stuff. It's actually excellent to go there. So
a good start is stop asking for permission.
I just was wondering because you said you are in close contact to the open source project, and so I thought that maybe you have an overseeing this.
No. I said we're currently in close contact with Symphony.
Okay.
And we want to increase that.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
or it went like this. So
yeah. We're